Good evening. I am your host, Joanna Mustapha, here to bring you comprehensive coverage of market activities in Nigeria and across Africa, straight off of close of the market. I'll be joined, of course, by intelligent analysts from the Nairametrics team. This is Market Pulse, brought to you by News Central in collaboration with Nairametrics. And, of course, on the show today, how are interest rates hikes hampering Nigerian corporates' participation in the NGX? That's a conversation we look forward to having as well. Naira continues its rally against the dollar, with even more gains recorded against other currencies. Is the Naira's gain now dependent on CBN's infusion of FX into the markets? That's the question we hope to answer. And from the MAGA coin to the Kama coin, we'll see how the US elections is driving growth in the PoliFi category of crypto assets. All this and much more on Market Pulse today. But first, a quick markets recap, beginning with the NGX. Of course, market activities. It's been the slowest day of trade since February, and I guess investors are calling off post. There's a lot of news to ingest or digest in the investment space. But yes, the all share index 100,568.6, up marginally 0.08%, right? So basically, return back to some sort of bearish sentiment, marginal gains. Investors are taking profits ahead of summer holidays, and we saw the NGX decline, I beg your pardon, by 0.08 to close at 100,486.12. Today was a slow trading day. Total turnover volume was about 280.9 million shares, which is the lowest since February. Is the market reacting to recent, back and forth between the government and Dangote and all else that is there to digest in the investment space? There's a conversations, I beg your pardon, that need to be had. Amongst the top gainers, we see a lot of penny stocks, right? Ikeja Hotel, Link Assurance, and the likes up there, gaining 7.58%. Still slow, if you ask me, but of course we'll get your thoughts on this much later. If you come to the top losers list as well, we're seeing United Press and the likes up there. United Press losing 9.92%. Top movers list dominated by financial services, not necessarily banking stocks. We're just seeing Access Corp, of course, driving recapitalization activities. United Cap is also up there. Veritas Capital, Jais Bank, and the rest. Top traded stocks when it comes to volume. Currency, the Naira is still recording gains, right, on the currency side, despite the resilience of the US dollar. Yes, we are seeing a stronger greenback. At least the pound to the Naira is now below the 2,000 mark, so perhaps some relief ahead of school fee season. Later on, we'll take a peek into other African currencies, but right now we're going on a break. Aghogho Udi, economic analyst with Nairametrics, will be joining me, as well as David Olujinmi, who'll be joining me to break down today's market activity, so stay with me. You're tuned in to Market Pulse. Right now, we're picking up the pulse of the day with economy analyst with Nairametrics, Aghogho Udi. It's a pleasure to have you join us, Aghogho.
Thank you very much. All
right, we're seeing the decision that has been made and announced, 50 basis points interest rates hike. Between January and May 2022, the CBN has raised monetary policy rates by a staggering 750 basis points. But if we factor in the latest, right, between January and now, it's now 800 basis points increase so far. With the implications, right, on cost of borrowing, just how much do you see this affecting the Nigerian corporate space and their participation in the capital markets?
Definitely cost of borrowing is going to increase, and overall, in terms of real economic implication of that, we might see that companies might not engage in expansion activities for now. That might be placed on hold until perhaps rates come down, so that cost of borrowing will be reduced. Because an earlier analysis done by Nairametrics revealed that the cost of borrowing for consumer goods companies in particular soared by around over 1,000% in the first quarter of the year. And perhaps that's also on the back of exchange rate depreciation and coupled with NPR hike by the CBN. So We're also seeing that the rates of increase in NPL rate now has depreciated for some time. I mean, it has been depreciating from 400 to 200 to 150 to 50. So perhaps we're looking into the period where perhaps they start dropping rates so that the investment climate and cost of capital, accessing capital will reduce for businesses to thrive, because a lot of stakeholders in the business community have complained about the hike in interest rates. Prominent among them was Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, who said no job will be created, no economic growth with interest rates at around 30%. So perhaps I think they are looking into that now, and in the future, perhaps in September when the CBN meet again, we might see rates come down. Depend on what happens to inflation though and the exchange rate market.
All right. I mean, we're just, digesting the latest hike, right? So we'll see whether or not in the future they will hold rates or cut rates. But definitely we are seeing that effect on the investment space. I'm coming to David now. David, on the other hand, stockbrokers in the Nigerian capital market, they've observed encouraging signs of high investor participation in the ongoing public offerings and rights issues by banks. Some have even gone as far as to say most banks will be fully subscribed, if not oversubscribed. Do you share in this sentiment? And, what's the data saying as regards this?
So basically, we've seen Fidelity Bank on July 26th, that is in the next 3 days, they're going to hold an extraordinary general meeting where the main agenda of the meeting is increasing the subscription offer. So based on what we've seen from Fidelity Bank was going to issue about 10 billion shares thereabout. But now we've seen a situation where this bank is going to their shareholders and saying we'll probably have to increase the number of shares in our offer because there is a likelihood for oversubscription. So I think this is one of the information that is driving the sentiment that there's heightened activity, or there's heightened interest in the public offerings. So another thing there is that over the last 2 weeks since the start of all this wave of different public offerings, we've seen a whole lot of drop in market activity. So there's also the sentiment that rather right now investors are aggregating their funds to push into this public offering. So we've seen, basically we are seeing public offering of right now, the public offering and right issues about 878 billion on the table. So there's a lot of fund that would go into that space rather than going into the equities market itself. So those are some of the information driving the idea. So I feel like maybe we'll have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see. I'd like to get Aghogho in here as well. There's a lot of activity in the fixed income space, but there are questions around a thinning system liquidity. How far do you think liquidity in the system can be stretched? Is there enough liquidity to meet all the demands on the equity and fixed incomes market here in Nigeria?
Data to say that how far it can go. Well, if you look at the amount of money outside bank and as a cash outside bank and all of that, you can see that it has been increasing. I think since last year and earlier this year, despite efforts to stock up liquidity by the Apex Bank and all of that. So perhaps I think the banks and generally money outside banks will be able to. It can go far until interest rates try to come down, and perhaps the CBN also reduce the cash reserve ratio of banks so that there will be enough liquidity and all of that. But for now, banks have not signaled any complaints that the monetary policy tightening by the Apex Bank is affecting liquidity and all of that. So it can go on for some time, but except we see comments from those in the banking sector of such effects of the tightening effect on liquidity and all of that. So that's it.
All right. Right. Thank you for that, Aghogho. I'm coming back to David now. We're following up with yesterday's bond auction. The federal government has raised 225.714 billion naira in July 2024 bond auction, which is about 75% of its target. Last month, about 297.006 billion naira was raised from the June bond auction. So this means that the amount raised this month has dropped slightly by 24%. What's your assessment of how investors are positioning, or should I say repositioning, across the T-bills and the bond curve?
So basically, there's two things that are involved in this case. So we see a case of the federal government through the CBN trying to stem their rate of borrowing through Treasury bills. In the first 3 months of 2024, we saw the CBN issue about 10.4 trillion naira worth of Treasury bills, the highest ever in history. The amount of Treasury bills issued by this administration has been the highest issued by any administration ever in Nigeria's history. Since Nigeria started issuing, the whole thing about Treasury bills started under the President Obasanjo, but that was very little. That was when the CBN were issuing open market operation bills, OMO bills. But under Jonathan, we saw like a very increased interest in Treasury bills. But now we've seen, it seems like that's the only source of income for the government. We don't know. It almost seems like that's the only source of financing. Since they came in, they've issued about 22 trillion naira worth of Treasury bills. So that's one on the side of the government trying to stem the rate at which they borrow. And the borrowing is not is not cheap. For example, yesterday's yesterday T-bills auction were done at about the 364-day bills, 20.67%. That's a whole lot. But we also see something on the investor side. We are seeing that the investors are now choosing to just focus on higher yield bonds, higher yield bills, which are the 364-day bills, because the inflation rate of the country, the benchmark rate of the country, now we have a benchmark rate of 26.7%. That means when you compare the benchmark rate and the yield rate, we are having a negative return. So investors are not really enthusiastic like they were at the start of the year.
Yeah. I guess, there are trade-offs there, but thank you so much for that insight. Stay with us, David. We're going to have you when we're spotlighting a particular meme coin. And as well, thank you, Aghogho, for joining us for Pulse of the Day, analyzing market activities for today. It's still Market Pulse right here on News Central in partnership with Nairametrics. We're going on a break right about now. When we return, we'll be spotlighting a particular meme coin, of course, tracing what's happening in the United States and its effect on the cryptocurrency space. It is still Market Pulse. Stay with us. You're watching Market Pulse. Now we shift our focus to an asset that's gaining quite the spotlight. About this time last week, we were talking about the MAGA coin. Today is the Kama coin, Kamala Harris's meme coin, which has surged to an all-time high, hitting a market capitalization of $24 million following the news of President Joe Biden stepping down from the presidential race and, directly endorsing his vice president for the top spot on the Democratic Party ticket. MAGA or Kama coin? Which are you banking on? The polls are up. You can see them there on X at Nairametrics. Where do you stand? Which are you banking on? But joining me right now, and of course, staying with me as well, is David Olujinmi, financial markets analyst with Nairametrics. Let us into the performance of this particular meme coin, the Kama coin, in the wake of Biden's step down and Kamala Harris's endorsement for the November 2024 U.S. election.
So basically, after the announcement was made around 7 p.m. on Sunday, the coin doubled in value. It went up to 2.2 cents from 1.1 cents. But as of yesterday, it was trading around 1.6 cents. These are things that happen when people in the crypto space just want to enjoy a little bit. So they just go and they pump and they withdraw. It's just the happening around that angle. It's just the happening in that space. Basically, it's just a normal reaction.
And what does this say about volatility levels of such crypto assets?
So basically, the volatility level, that's just to explain why crypto assets sometimes cannot serve as they cannot really be they cannot really be your best bet when it comes to investing because they are very volatile assets. So basically, the whole thing with Karma coin, the whole thing with meme coins, basically, it's very similar to what we had with shit coins. On the other hand, of what we've been having with shit coins, we have these coins that people just basically pump, and sometimes people even do what is called a rug pull with the entire asset. They just go in and they get some people to put in their funds, and they crash it, basically withdrawing. So that's the thing.
So what do you see happening, and how do you see this affecting the Joe Biden coin, the Karma coin ahead, whether a candidate wins or loses? How do you see the outcome of this?
It doesn't really do much. The only thing that it will do the only thing with meme coins is that meme coins are fan-based collectibles. Back in the days, we used to have collectibles that are based around popular figures. We have sometimes we have collectible items. We can have T-shirts and all. So it's just like a football club that has its jersey. For players, Ronaldo jersey we always sell. When Ronaldo joined Juventus made more money in the jersey than the actual amount they paid for Ronaldo. So it's something similar with meme coins. They are fan-based tokens that are based on the crypto ecosystem, that are based on a particular crypto ecosystem. So it's all based on the happenings around that particular entity. The other day we saw Trump almost assassinated, and what happened to MAGA coin? It skyrocketed. It went up because it heightened. The entire incident was like a boost in his chances for the presidency. So for Joe Biden's coin, I don't think we're seeing any much movement. And again, people are not very invested or very interested in what's going on with meme coins like that. It's not.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's a fan-based coin, right, or crypto assets. But the PoliFi sector in cryptocurrency, we know, is a niche that has been very busy in the run-up to the United States November presidential election. Led us into the surge in that sector, right? And what are the possibilities of having meme coins attached to Nigerian or African political figures within the crypto ecosystem, especially considering the high volume of crypto trade in the region?
So I was telling somebody, I told someone recently, yesterday, I said that America has a thing about itself. America is the country that knows how to really take the world's attention. I don't know how they do it, but they do it every time. In 2020, we had COVID, and we had a lot of, there was a back and forth around the world. The world was in the whole conundrum. It was drama all around. But somehow the election between Donald Trump and Joe Biden just found a way to take the spotlight. Same thing is happening right now. As of 3 weeks ago, there was very little. 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, the attention of the world was more focused on the UK, because why? The Conservatives were on track to lose the power they had held for 15 years. So everybody, all of a sudden, we have one, boom, an attempted assassination. 2, we have the president dropping out of the race. And just like that, America has taken the attention. Ghana is having an election in December. Nobody even cares about, nobody really pays attention. So we see the fact that the PoliFi sector is really built around American political figures. It's built around American political figures. So when you have attention brewing around these figures, you will have attention brewing in that sector, basically.
All right. I mean, we'll be tracking how things pan out in that PoliFi sector when it comes to crypto assets. Thank you so much, David Olujinmi, Nairametrics financial market analyst. Thank you for joining me. All right, we're heading down. I mean, it's over to you, right? MAGA or Karma coin, buy, sell, or hold. The poll is up on X at Nairametrics. We're going down to the African markets. Let's see what's happening across the continent. Of course, we're seeing a pretty much bullish run. Aside from the Nairobi Stock Exchange, we're also seeing Egypt. They are also having a bullish run. All right, we're also seeing, Egypt, the Egyptian exchange, up 0.70%. They have had that bullish run since exchange rates, I beg your pardon, not exchange rates, right? Since they held rates last week, July 16th, right? They have been experiencing that bullish run. So, I mean, pretty much a good performance across exchanges, or across markets in Africa. That's pretty much it majorly here. We're tracking several activities across the markets here in Africa and in Nigeria. We'll continue to see how, the markets continue to react to rate hikes and how the corporates will continue to react to what's happening in that regard, amongst other things right here. It has been Market Pulse, brought to you by New Central in partnership with Nairametrics. We do this every weekday from 4 p.m., so make it a date with us. I will be leaving you with what's happening on the international markets.